This is Dan Dirk.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. It is I, the Man of Tomorrow, the Superman of Blue, your host, Tyler. The Great One is with me, that's right. The Man of Steel himself, the Superman of Red, the bringer of all good things, the man amongst men, the God amongst mortals, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Hey, Tyler. How's it going?
I really think
Here in my superhero garb, my brand new Superman robe, ready to save the day.
I got my Superman house slippers on because I'm in the basement and it's cold and my feet are cold because I am an old man. I think I miss my calling in life as like a barker, like calling on the chin. Like you would be like, if this was like a Knight's Tale, you would be Heath Ledger and I would be, what's his face, from WandaVision.
Oh, Paul Bettany.
Yep.
He plays Chaucer.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally just blinked.
I wasn't sure if you meant Paul Bettany as Chaucer or Alan Tudyk as Frog.
That cast is great.
I know, right?
So, anyways, it's been a lot going on. Holy crap. Like, as of this recording, welcome to Snyder Week, I guess you could say. Because that's pretty much all that's going to be going on. It seems like in the DC world. And so we're going to talk a little bit here in our news. I just want to say spoilers. Maybe you want to jump ahead a little bit because like there's a lot of like little trailers for the Snyder Cut put out. And we could break down each one, but we'll kind of just talk on the high points. There were like 50-second trailers, but what a week, man. What a week.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've watched all of these trailers on repeat after they've come out. I watched them all in a row, and it's fantastic.
So, all right. Let's see. The Aquaman trailer, we'll just start there. It was good. I think that one worked better for me, just the dialogue. None of the images in it really were new. I felt like they were kind of like, we had seen them before. They were like little retweaks from here and there with just like a hint of extended, but nothing like all dropping, like, oh my God. The Superman trailer was pretty awesome. We got that nice longer shot of him looking for a costume. We hear Jonathan Kent's voice. But the Wonder Woman trailer is kind of the same thing where I feel like it was nice, but we didn't really see anything new. The trailers that got me the most were Flash and Cyborg.
Yeah, they definitely showed the most new stuff. We had the Superman trailer. They showed us that scene from the deleted scenes from the theatrical version. Mm-hmm. One of the deleted scenes we actually got on there because now we know that there was more than a movie worth of deleted scenes that they put in there. So, but looks like they extended the suit shot. Like they've got male and female war suits, and they've got space suit, and then what was the black suit before is now the blue and red suit, and we just get another shot of Henry Cavill's Superman taking off.
Mm-hmm. Which is, epic beyond belief. So, I like that. I like that we get to see.
Yeah, the Flash one, I think, probably the best. just because of like the visuals they give in it. I really like the dialogue from the Cyborg one, like his mother talking to him, Diana talking to him, his father talking to him, and the dialogue is so much better than just the crap we got in the theatrical version.
I mean, we get in the Cyborg one about the broken but not alone line.
We get in a world of ones and zeros, you are the master, something or other. I forget the exact line, but it was like, Joe Morton is amazing, and you give him the garbage you gave him to reshoot in the theatrical version.
You know,
like
we see him flying from like the graveyard scene. In the Flash, we get like the scene where he's like running, and he's like, "It's all there," you know, like the whole like, and we hear Bruce's voice like, "You have to run faster than you've ever run before." And we see the scene like where, you know, that we've been teased, where he sees the car wreck and he's so fast that he rips out of his shoes and goes running to save Iris, and he slides on the concrete, and we see the concrete all screwed up, and he catches her, she sees him, and then we see like him run away. So it's really just, you know, it's like we're seeing little bits of new things from scenes that we've already seen.
Yeah.
And that's cool because it's just showing you like, oh, you thought you saw this? Here, look at this. So I like it. You know, I'm excited more and more. Like, it's like this week is going to be like, oh my God, hurry up. But you know what? It's cool. We're taking our time, you know, like I'm trying to, you know, not like freak out. So
not freak out and sleep like crap like I did last night, dreaming I was watching the Snyder Cut, and every time I woke up, it was gone.
Hey, it's better than dreaming that you're watching the Snyder and then you wake up and realize that it was all a dream and there is no Snyder Cut.
Right.
And you're just like, no.
Yeah. No, it was terrible too, because it was like after like the first time, every time I like went back and was dreaming about it again for some reason, I was like, damn it, I know it's not here because I'm just dreaming and this sucks. And I woke up and it was true, and I was like, oh man.
You're like, it was such a good dream.
Yep.
But we're getting there. We're getting there. And then the other was like, there was a trailer for like Darkseid and Steppenwolf, and man, I think a lot of people, that's where people are really going to see the biggest, I think, difference is like just how powerful and evil Steppenwolf is.
Yeah.
You know, we get from the dialogue and like the images of him and like the parademons like beating Atlantean soldiers and like walking them up to the shore.
Yeah, that was awesome. Dragging them out of the water.
And you're just,
like, I think they're dragging them out of the water to interrogate them to get the information of exactly where the mother box is or something.
I mean, that makes sense, you know?
Like, it's probably hidden better underwater like that than, like, the Amazons. We know that the Amazons' little safeguard place is, like, massive structure full of like huge thick slabs of concrete and stuff like that, but think it's, you know, the mother box wakes up and it's detectable. Maybe we get something a little less in Atlantis being that deep underwater. Maybe.
I mean, I think about like we know that the mother box of Men was discovered by Etta Candy and her team back shortly after the events of the first Wonder Woman film. Because we have that little like special little short where with the crew you know, everyone but Diana and Steve, where she's organizing them and they're gonna, you know, she pulls out the paperwork, talks about the mother box. So we know how the mother box of Men was found. I mean, plus just the scene we've seen in the trailer before of like the men burying the mother box. They didn't bury it that deep.
No, it was a few
handful.
feet.
You know, a handful. Yeah, I mean, so we know that's coming, and then we got, I guess, a leaked trailer of Darkseid. That was on Twitch or something, because it was predominantly more Darkseid, and had the Joker in it. So that was cool, but that never officially was tweeted out from Zach, because it seemed like there was stuff that, like, they would do these trailers, like that would be on Twitter, like from Zach, and then there'd be like little gift type promo trailers that would appear on Twitch and Vero and stuff, and they might have an extra frame or something of a character. So it really was, interesting to see how much stuff is coming out each day for the characters.
Yeah, each day they had with the poster, they had a poster to go along with the trailer, the 50-second trailer. Then they did like a GIF that showed a couple extra frames of the character doing something different that we didn't see. And then there was even like some of those like quick 10, 11 second trailer things that were just real quick what they showed. And it was just, there's so much and yet so little at this point still.
Because like I said,
we've only seen glimpses, tiny frames.
Like one is like we saw a scene before of like the Flash, like it looks like he's putting his hands together, kind of like meditate prayer. We've seen that in a trailer before, but then in his little GIF, he's got his hands pointed out. So it's like we're seeing like an extra frame after a shot we've already seen. So we're seeing more, but at the same time, we're not.
Right. And they're showing us some new stuff, and they're showing us some stuff that was cut to be a structure bone for the theatrical version. But we're getting to see it how it should have been.
Yep. So, it's exciting. Then this is pretty crazy. I guess for a short while, if you went to play Tom and Jerry, the Snyder Cut started to play on HBO.
Yes, that was for like 2 hours.
And so, not the whole movie, but there were leaked scenes and clips got out there of people recording things on their phone and then posting it.
Man, if only I'd have waited like a week to watch Tom and Jerry, I might have been part of that.
I know. We watched it day of just because the kids, they wanted to see it. And I'll say this, Tom and Jerry on HBO Max, smart move, because it was not good. And I mean, I like
it. Had some funny moments. That's what I can say.
Yeah, like if I went to the theater and watched it, I'd been mad. But the kids liked it enough, but at the same time, like, it's just weird to try to do a full-length movie like that with Tom and Jerry. And
Two characters who don't speak.
Right, and the other thing was, it felt more to me like those family 90s movies that would just come out all the time that you would get.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They did a number of styles like that. I mean, heck, Tom and Jerry was basically Dunstan Checks In.
Yeah. Good point. So
it was funny. I'm glad it was on HBO Max. If my kids wanted to, we might have gone to see it, but we'd have also gone to see like the very first show before noon or 1 o'clock when the ticket prices are the cheapest.
Yep.
And it would have still cost a small fortune because of pop and popcorn.
Yep. So, but that was crazy. And I just hate because like it leaked and then people were putting it out there and saying stuff. And, it was not too difficult to avoid stuff. It wasn't as bad as some other things that happened before, but
I've only seen the 30-second clip of Steppenwolf when he arrives in the Amazon stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've seen. I did not watch anything else that leaked. I didn't look for anything else, so that helps. But nothing else has come across my timeline of, like, here's all the leaked scenes and stuff.
Yeah. So, other than that, keeping in the secret, so I'm not going to go down a whole Snyder discussion because, we're getting the movie in a couple of days. It's just nice to recognize, like, all this material that we've gotten for promo and TV spots. And it's all on YouTube, so people can go and find it. Kiersey, is that how you say it? Clemens, who plays Iris West in Justice League, has been officially reported as returning for Andy Muschietti's The Flash movie. Great news, right? Great news. On the other side of that coin, Billy Crudup has been reported that he will not be returning as Henry Allen because of scheduling conflicts for the Flash movie.
Well, that's just sad.
Yeah, because I thought they were great casting. Like, they looked like father and son.
I hope they don't try to recast him or anything.
I think it'd be kind of neat if they can just use some footage or repurpose some footage, or maybe just find like a day or something to shoot just some images of Billy Crudup like on a green screen and then just tweak it, and something like that, because I think, and you know what, fingers crossed, maybe something will change by the time filming gets done and he can get on set. Because they did cast Maribel Verdugo as Nora Allen. So we do have our casting of Nora Allen, so that's good. Pushing things forward. We still don't know who the villain is for the Flash movie, but we're making progress.
Yep, and supposedly it's in production and they're filming. We got some extra casting news, and please let it be true.
Yeah. Doom Patrol casted their new villain for season 3. Yes, so that's interesting. That the actress that they got, let me see if I can pull up her name here. Because
she was, I was looking at it, and I don't remember her name offhand either. I'm kind of going back to see what her name was.
Michelle Gomez. She was in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I'm pretty sure she was in The Flight Attendant.
On HBO?
On HBO Max with Kaylee Cuoco. I'm pretty sure she played a villain in that as well.
She'll be playing Madame Rogue. So, all right. That's cool. And then, let's see, in other good news, so I guess there was a thing, like AT&T had a shareholders thing or whatever, but there's no more news than this, but there is some sort of Zatanna and Batgirl project, 2 separate projects at HBO Max or Warner, so it's a minor thing just to mention because there's been a Batgirl rumor since like 2018, so.
Well, that image that we got, didn't that include HBO Max and Warner Brothers, like theatrical?
I mean,
it was mostly HBO Max projects because we know that the majority of projects moving forward are on HBO Max.
I feel like it is, but I don't know. I can't keep up with everything, because
we know we got the Suicide Squad. That's coming out on HBO Max, but that is from Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So, other than that, let's see. Good news. There is Superman Celebration. As of right now, they have stated that Superman Celebration will take place this year. Only difference is it will be in August compared to the usual June. So that's cool. You know, still just being positive because you never know what can happen in this time. So it's going to be July 30th through August 1st. So, okay, so I was wrong. It's July. But August also takes place. So that also, goes with it. Now, in weird news, I say that because it's a combination, is that Supergirl Season 6 will premiere on March 30th. Okay, awesome. That's not too far away. But when it premieres, it's going to make Superman and Lois take a hiatus until May 18th. And I'm just like, seriously, like, you gotta stop with these. Like, I understand, like, it's a weird time, but why not just let one show play out or something, Like, are they trying to just bump up the ratings to give Supergirl a good send-off? Like...
I mean, I hope, I guess, like...
Because, Superman and Lois is doing really good, and it's just like, I feel like hiatuses only hinder...
the momentum that they build.
Yeah. So you're going to do this...
The CW in the last handful of years has been really crazy about the amount of DC shows that they put on at one time. And I think that's part of it, I mean, part of it is just the fact that they started late this year, so everything's going to run into the summer. And I feel like it's kind of a killer because you're building up the momentum for Superman and Lois. People are enjoying this show. I just want to watch it. And now you're going on this hiatus, and they're going to do a hiatus for Supergirl. And then what? Flash is going to end, and then Supergirl is going to continue on or something, because it's only for 8 weeks, so that's only 8 episodes of Supergirl, so it's like half their season. You know what I'm saying? So is it just going to work out? I don't know. It's weird because it's Supergirl's last season, and Superman and Lois, you're just you're killing the momentum that we are loving of the series. CW just loves to kill the momentum of all their shows. I mean, their hiatuses, even on a normal schedule, have been so long the last few years. I don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, I understand skipping a few weeks of certain shows because of the Super Bowl or possibly March Madness, and the holidays,
Yeah.
But for the holidays, they take a month off. For March Madness, they take a month off. They take a month off for spring break. It's like college students are running it or something.
Mm-hmm. I get the second week, taking the second week of December till the 3 weeks or off or whatever for the Christmas holidays and into the new year, because you're not going to get a lot of the ratings because people aren't watching TV as much, and you don't want to lose out on that. But doing these mini breaks where one show takes a week off and then another show doesn't, it makes it so hard. I don't know if it's also a way of just pushing people to go to the streaming services.
Yeah. I mean, granted, when you put on 6 or 7 shows every single week, that's a lot for people to keep up on. Even when it comes to streaming and being able to watch it when you have your convenience. I'm not caught up on the shows that we have right now. So I understand that, I mean, if you put on so many, that is a chore. But I also think instead of all these breaks and hiatuses, if that's your problem, why don't you expand your viewing? Why don't you line these shows up so that way you have you know, a couple of shows running concurrently, and then when those shows end, you have a couple of shows ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you keep those going, you know what I mean? Instead of packing everything up. This year's weird because of COVID and everything with the shutdown, and everything was so lost in so much time lost for production and things like that. So this year's weird. It's hard to say why they're doing what they're doing specifically this year.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past and moving forward, I mean, in my opinion, I've said it multiple times, I feel it would be more beneficial to have to extend these shows into their summer programming, because they do have summer shows, they do have summer programming, but they pack all of these shows into the fall and spring instead of maybe shortening them up a tiny bit and running them all year long.
Mm-hmm. Especially this year. Like, giving people something to watch over the summer, you know, and giving just, I don't know, something more to stretch out. But it's weird, you know, I'm behind like an episode on Black Lightning, and I started it, and it was cool because it mentioned Barry and Central City, The Flash.
Yeah.
And I'm like 2 episodes behind on Batwoman. So,
well, we know we got like 15 episodes of Superman and Lois. I'm not sure how many episodes we're getting for Supergirl this year. I haven't seen that I'm aware of. And we got a notification that The Flash is only going to have 18 episodes this season, which is going to be nice. I mean, you cut off a typical 22, 23 episode season down to 18 episodes. That is, I mean, say it costs $1 million to produce each episode. That's $5 million extra dollars that they can put into other episodes.
mm-hmm.
And less filler
Mm-hmm.
that we don't require, that, you know, that none of us require anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, that is a plus, you know. I mean, we like these shows, but sometimes we're like, man, we could have just skipped that episode.
Yeah. But all that to say, here we are. So let's jump into episode 3, Superman and Lois, The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Of not being a
wallflower. Yeah, I was thinking of that movie with Ezra Miller.
Yeah. Which is a really good movie, actually. It's got a really good cast. Interesting premise based off of a book. Very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's not something I would watch a lot, but I've seen it a couple of times. And it's got a good soundtrack, too.
Yeah. So what did you think?
Ezra Miller's hilarious. He's great in that movie, too. Just for anybody who doesn't know.
So what did you think of this episode?
A good episode. You know, I think it stepped up a little bit from last week. Second episode slowed down slightly. We got a little bit of Superman action early on, and then we got a little bit of Superman action later on. But we get to spend a good amount of time with the brothers, some time with Clark, and Lois gets to do something this week.
Yep. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. I like this episode. I like that it's kind of, they're trying to, all right, so we'll just go kind of like character by character. I think that's just the best kind of way to kind of maneuver through things. We'll start though just at the beginning. We have a great family moment of them painting. And then, you know, Clark hears an accident and something on the bridge, and he takes off, and, you know, there's this pause where everyone's kind of looking, and Lois goes, well, there's no point in saying anything now that you know your Dad's Superman. Like,
Yeah, no point in hiding it now that you know he's Superman.
so it's just like, that's what happens, you know? That's part of it.
Yeah. The one thing I've got to say already is how long has Superman been out? How long has Superman on television and film been produced? And people are still saying, how is that bridge holding together? How is that section of bridge staying in one piece while he's holding it from one point in the middle? Like,
He's extending his aura, much like in All-Star Superman, and he's just using his gravitational force to hold it together.
Yeah, like we can give you like the super science, the comic book science explanation, but it's Superman. It's always that way.
Yeah, I mean,
Get over your idea of what physics is going to give you.
there's always that line of like a little bit of the impossible that I can go with, but then there's always those things where that was too much. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always that, like, you're dancing on that line of, okay, this is just enough that we believe it, we're buying it, like, okay. And then there's that line of, okay, you just, like, jumped, and now, like, it's too much. But, you know, it is.
I mean, in my opinion, watching a section of a bridge be whole makes more sense than him carrying an apartment building.
Yeah. I will completely agree with you on that one. I will completely concur.
Not that either one would hold up like that, but still, I think a section of a bridge designed, you know, to support like that
It may
would
have,
hold up better than an apartment building.
I'll go with that. I totally agree with that. So, yeah. But I love, you know, I just love, like, he swoops in, he saves the bridge, and we get the great scene of him, like, waving to the guy in the boat as it's coming down to him, and, like, as he waves, he knows he's got paint on his hand, and it's just kind of a cute moment, very Superman.
Yeah, I think it's really good, the bridge collapse scene. I mean, a lot's happening. He's dodging the cables that are snapping. As a chunk of the bridge falls down, he catches a truck and he sets it back up on the bridge before he catches the chunk of the bridge with the school bus and other vehicles on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a really nice Superman action sequence, rescue sequence.
Yeah.
And it only takes a few seconds, and, you know, it's a good shot. Anytime Superman's rescuing somebody, you know, it's always great. You know, every Superman movie, he's always rescuing. Superman movie, Superman show, he's always rescuing people.
Yeah. I mean, he is.
Every single one, no matter what people tell you. Every single one.
So I love that. And then we cut in. One thing I want to point out, like, it is interesting that they're at Smallville and, like, the school colors of Smallville is, like, blue. Like, that's almost kind of jarring because I just got so used to it, like, in the comics and kind of on Smallville, the red, black, and gold, you know? So, like, this new blue, silver kind of color scheme is, it's interesting. It's, you know? But
I'm sure it must have been a conscious choice just to separate it a little bit from Smallville, which was on the CW.
oh yeah, totally. I do find it interesting that we're in the third episode and Sarah, I want to point this out, quits cheerleading. Okay. Her mom is the coach, which kind of shows that Lana's never kind of really left the school. Like, she's still doing her thing. Sarah quits cheerleading, much like Lana Lang quits cheerleading in the first season of Smallville.
I think it was the third episode of Smallville, too.
So, you know what I'm saying? So right there, they're already kind of putting Sarah on this, like, Lana Lang Smallville path. And I'm just like, okay.
Like, similarities are okay, but let's not take it that far, please.
Yeah. You know, Sarah, you know, small arcs. Sarah quits cheerleading, then we have the diner scene where she confronts her mom, and her mom is always asking her how she's doing. And we see that Kyle and Lana take Sarah to counseling. They're picking her up because of her attempted suicide. And
yeah, that scene was pretty powerful. From the character's perspective, the parents are waiting in the car while she goes into counseling because they don't want to be seen at a counselor's office because they don't want, people to know that Sarah's in counseling. But if anybody sees Sarah, I mean, obviously they're going to know. So I don't know. It's
it almost
just
made me think like if they drove to like another town or something.
Right.
They never say it, and it's never like shown. But I was just thinking it.
Drove over to Granville to see a doctor.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Makes sense. But it that scene sets up Lana this whole episode. I mean, like how overly, I would be too as a parent, and if something like that happened, I would be stressed out constantly as well.
Mm-hmm.
But she's overly concerned and she's on her back all the time. At least that we get to see in this. She's always asking her if she's okay. What's going on? You're not working like these other girls on the cheer team. And then the diner scene when she's airing her business. Like, Lana doesn't want their business being out there, and Sarah literally breaks down everything. Dad sleeps on the couch. You can't sleep without a pill. Sophie's a bully to all of her kids in class, and you're worried about me.
I thought that was interesting, just like because they haven't really done anything with Sophie, and like the fact that she points out she's a bully. Like, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting that the kindly little girl that we met earlier is a bully. But yeah, I mean, we know that Lana and Kyle have a bad marriage. And what's that going to play into later? So, Sarah, I'm interested. I just don't want Sarah to be Lana 2.0.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely not that. I really hope she gets her own arc that kind of wraps up a little bit. Like, yeah, history repeats itself a little bit, parents and children. I mean, who knows, parents living vicariously through their kids don't want to do what the parents did. Like, Lana was a cheerleader. She doesn't want to continue to be a cheerleader. I mean, what have you? I mean, lots of story tropes. We do not need that Lana again. It was enough the first time. It was more than enough the first time. That diner scene, though, have you ever been in a conversation? Have you ever been at your friend's house and your friends get in trouble and their parents are yelling at them, or, and you're like,
you're just sitting there.
Should I go? Should I leave the room? Should I leave the house? Like, you're just incredibly awkward or whatever. And the boys played that off like, wow. They played that off really well.
Yeah, they're like, and I don't want to. I have a comment, but I'm kind of holding it for a moment as we get into more. But yeah, like I've had that where you're just kind of like, this is really awkward, and because it's one thing I think when you're. I mean, dude, even now, like I'm gonna say this when. Like, I've been married to Jania for 10 years as of last week. Yeah, rock on, Tyler.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. But even now, like, when Jania's mom will get into it, like, with Jania and her sister, like, when all three of them are I'm like, this is awkward. Should I go? Like, and I mean, I've been around for 12 years. Like, actually more like 13. But anyways, like, it's still just kind of like awkward. So I totally understand, like, we're like,
yeah. This one was a little more real life. A little less real life was, Big Bang Theory. Like, I was trying to pick my moment to leave. This seemes like it's it. And then walk out.
I mean, sitcoms are always about that heightened element where everything you do is for the joke. Because like
Yeah.
you're watching, you're like, I would not do that in real life, you know. But you're like, but to make sure that there's a funny beat, yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah,
I mean, so keeping on the Lana Sarah train, we're here now. What'd you think of the bedroom sequence where they actually got to talk? They weren't arguing.
it was. I mean, it was really good. You know, it pulled it together, and it's trying to show like them growing as mother and daughter, but just like Sarah trying to grow out of her shadow. So I mean, I appreciate what they're doing there, but I mean, I've said it before. I just don't like. They have not given me a good Lana Lang, like in live action, other than Superboy, and you know,
Yeah.
arguably Superman 3. But anyways, like I don't know. I feel like Lana's character is kind of just. She's that almost. I don't want to say this like in a mean way, but like that washed up. I peaked in high school. I'm still trying to live there. That's all I am, kind of thing.
So this Lana, she strikes me as the Lana who never got out of Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she dated a guy. They had a good thing going on when they were young, and then they got pregnant and had kids, and it just doesn't work. And they're still trying to make it work. And they tell you. I think you see that because of this scene where she talks to Sarah in the bedroom, how she talks about how she was raised. You know, you keep up appearances. You know what I mean? You don't tell people what's wrong. You don't show people what's wrong. You know, maybe her life didn't turn out the way she wanted it to, and she wants her daughter to have a better life, but also like what's going on in Smallville right now? Like how is she going to have a better life with that as well? I think this Lana Lang is a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, what we've read.
I agree.
I hope they give her something a little more compelling moving forward. I don't want to say compelling because the family drama that they have is they're doing it well.
I mean,
And we get an explanation of why we've seen it the way it is. And we get that explanation here in the bedroom scene. But they kind of come to an understanding. It's a nice, I think it's a nice conversation between the two, Sarah and Lana, where she says, I keep telling you I'm okay. But she also finally gives her an explanation too. I mean, if your daughter didn't tell you why she did that, I mean, you'd be worried too. You'd be worried sick all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she finally gives her an explanation. I think it gives them a point to move forward from in this position. And they honestly communicate. And I hope it'll be a little better moving forward. Their relationship. We still have the struggling family, Kyle and Lana. Who knows if we're going to see much of the daughter, but the other daughter.
I figure she'll be that one that's like that phases out. Like they'll like eventually like kind of like they did on Family Matters. Like, oh, we didn't have another child. So
Right, kind of like Tina on that '70s show.
mm-hmm.
Donna's sister who showed up in one episode and never showed up again.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We don't need this. So, all right. So let's move on to let's do Jordan and Jonathan because their story really does intersect so much in this one. Jordan gets a really great scene where he's in school. He goes and I almost said Lana's Sarah's boyfriend kind of like is messing with him, and his heat vision flickers. His eyes flicker.
Yeah, and you can see that Jonathan in that scene, he has a concern. Like, I think he sees the red in his eyes flare up, and he knows that his brother has that potential, you know, even after last week's episode, he knows that his brother still has that super ability, that super potential. You know, if he were to unleash on these kids in the school hallway, he could seriously hurt them or kill them.
Exactly. And we'll just pause and we'll say that Clark shows up, and we'll leave that there, and then we'll pick that thread back up in a moment. Jordan learns that Sarah and her boyfriend are breaking up, and that inspires Jordan to want to go out for football. I thought this was interesting, like an interesting move. Like, Jordan wants to do football so that he can basically hit back. I thought that was interesting, and we see he goes out. Everybody is a little weary, like, oh, and he does a great job, and it's awesome. But what pisses me off, and I'll say that right now, is the coach being a jerk. Says to Jonathan, like, your brother can, what do you say, short stack is what they call him. Your brother can do this, and you've never said anything. You've been holding out on me. How about you go run?
Yeah, makes him run laps because of the things his brother can do. It's like, I can't tell my brother to go out for football, and if you only knew, like, he shouldn't be doing this anyways.
I looked at Janine and I said, you know what? If I was Jordan, I would have said, I would have looked at the coach and be like, no. If that's how you're going to treat my brother because of my choice, I'm not playing. I'm done. And I would have walked off.
Right.
Because that's just bull. That is pure crap. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, it's beating down Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the speculation is that one of the kids would be bad, one of the kids would be good at some point. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everybody was like, well, it's going to be Jordan. Jordan's going to be the bad guy. He's got all the angst. He's got all the anger. And I still don't see it being Jonathan either. I don't think that's the route that they're going to take.
I don't either.
In my opinion,
I feel like in a way, Jonathan, something that he's inherited from his father is his father's resilience.
Even when he's getting the shaft, he gets that from Lois as well, which they both say that they both left stuff behind last episode. Mm-hmm. They left their lives behind for Jordan.
Yeah. And that's, I think something that's going to show, like, just that he is their son, like his ability to kind of be, what do you call it? To be resilient and to be above and be selfless. So I don't want to see either boy become evil. And we even get the scene later where, Clark finds out that Jordan is playing. And Jonathan, he has a moment with Clark where Clark doesn't want him to play. And Jonathan goes to Clark and basically says, Jordan needs this. And he says how Jordan was happy. He was making friends. He felt good. And he says, I'm not here for my brother. I'm here to tell you about this from my point of view. And it's a big moment because he's doing it because he sees the value in what it does for his brother, even at the expense of maybe him sitting still on the back burner more.
Yeah. Football was always his thing. And now, it's making Jordan happy in the short time that he's done it. It's given him a sense of control and a sense of power. I mean, like when he sacks the quarterback, he says, "This is my lane now, bro." Doing a callback to the stairs when he heard Sarah and Sean breaking up. That was a really cool scene. He had a lot of fun out on the field. And then when he checked Sean on the field and he apologized for kissing Sarah, which understandably, from one point of view, he didn't know she had a boyfriend, so there's no reason for him to apologize, but also from another point of view, it's just easier to apologize, and move on. Yeah. So I think we get that here. So we're going to get a little bit less of the teens fighting each other because of a kiss.
Yeah, I'm
glad they're moving away from that really quickly. They're not doing the CW tropes hardcore and all the teen angst, and they're resolving things and not dragging them out in this show. And I like that.
I like it because I'm tired of, look, man, your girlfriend was being really close to me and friendly and was giving me kind of the signals, and she never said she had a boyfriend. So, I apologize. But, that's something that you two should talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry that it happened. I apologize. But seriously, man, it's easy to get confused when you're not getting clear signals. So, back up.
All right. The one thing I do have to say about Jordan's character is this kid needs to get over his anger a little bit. He's always yelling and getting upset with Clark, especially. Boy, that's going to get old real freaking quick. Clark stepped up to him and told him, go to your room, go upstairs right now. You're about to get a super ass whooping. This kid keeps pushing it like that, man. This kid's going to get Superman bending him over his knee.
Because, yeah, when he does the breakdown, everything you do is a mistake. I'm like, dude, that's too much teen angst, man.
Yeah.
Dial it back, bro. Okay? Dial it back.
Exactly. And it's not like that can't happen once in a while. We're 3 episodes in, and every single episode he's yelled at his dad.
Mm-hmm.
About some mistake or his choice. You know what I mean? Every single episode, yeah. The way Tyler stepped up to him, though, I've had to do that to my kids. They're 11 and 12 years old, I've had to step up to them, and instead of yelling, this isn't going to help anymore, just arguing, step up, show them you're the boss, tell them to go to their room, and you'll talk to them when it's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all you can do. They need to cool down because they're obviously in a place where you yelling and fighting is not gonna work. So let's jump then let's hit on Lois. Okay. So in this episode, we meet a mother who comes because she's concerned about her son disappearing, who was working for Morgan Edge. And it's played by the actress who was Maggie Sawyer on Smallville.
Yeah, that's true.
And, there's a discussion between Lois and her editor about that this lady, she's got, how does she phrase it? Alcohol in her breath. And basically, I don't believe her story. And, Lois says, well, let me check it. She said, we don't have the resources. This isn't the Daily Planet. So there's this whole kind of discussion about what Lois can and can't do now as she's working for this paper. And Lois then goes and talks to Clark. And, Clark's like, what does your gut say? How do you feel about this? And Lois is, doing her Lois thing. I feel like I need to track it down. Clark's like, all right, and Lois goes off to this motel, arrives to meet the lady. We find out that the door has been busted in. And this is now one of the awesomest fight scenes we've had. So, what did you think of the fight scene?
Yeah, the fight scene was pretty good. I'm curious about this guy, but obviously with what happens in our final moments of the episode, obviously it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I was curious about this guy. Like, he's obviously not impenetrable, because Lois, pen is mightier than the sword, and she stabs him in the ear with a pen when he's attacking her, and it stuns him, it slows him down. But on the surface, he fights Superman, and he's pretty darn strong.
Right.
And he takes Superman's punches to the body, into the face, and he even puts Superman down on the ground with a couple of punches.
And yeah, that's what threw me, is like he kind of wrestles with Lois a little bit, and then she stabs him with a pin, and Superman comes in and they have an awesome fight. And Superman, he uses his freeze breath, he pushes him, he hits him. But at the same time, I'm like, well, if he could do that, how did he get stabbed? It's not like we see him inject anything or do a Bane Venom thing where he gets powerful. And I just was like, okay, because I'm like, if he's this strong, he should have killed Lois quickly. Or, we are led to believe that maybe the lady that Lois was there to meet, the mother, is still alive because Superman takes her to the hospital.
Yeah. So I kind of think that maybe he's one of these characters who's like Luke Cage,
Mm-hmm.
His exterior, his skin is impenetrable. But if you were to actually get underneath his skin, you could hurt him. You could kill him because his insides are normal. You know what I mean? So maybe she got that pen right in his ear and actually hit a soft tissue that he still has, but his skin is more impenetrable.
Okay, I'll go with that. That makes sense. Luke Cage-ish, yeah. I did think what are they called, the radio emitters that call Superman? You put it.
Yeah, the ELTs. I think I called it because they didn't say what it stands for. I think electronic locator transmitter, location transmitter. So that way it specifically is a location that Superman can hone in on.
Yeah, I kind of just miss the signal watch. I mean, we live in an age where we all have smartwatches, so the idea that she has a watch that's capable of a Superman frequency is even more believable.
Yeah. Well, with the little box, I mean, it's in your bag. I mean, Sam Lane, he had it in his pocket, but Lois, she had it in her bag at the first time we saw it. You could be easily separated from that.
Right. At least.
Whereas opposed to your watch, I mean, you're tied up. You can still hit your signal watch.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe has both, but it was just one of those things where I was like, I really miss the watch. But
yeah. Well, we get. So, I mean, there's different things in Superman history when it comes to Superman locating people. We know that in other comics, he's got his hearing attuned to Lois's heartbeat. So he's always knows her location. Whereas in this, especially this episode, we get super spying. He can hear the kids at school, and then we get a talk with him and Lois about the first time she figured out or found out that he was spying on her, that he was listening.
He had to use
listening and looking.
2 years' salary of buying flowers.
Yeah, 2 weeks' salary. He said, I spent a week's salary. She said it was 2 weeks' salary. And
and
so I think, and we do get a discussion in this, which I'm looking forward to when we get to Superman here after we finish up with Lois about his hearing.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and segue into Superman here.
Okay. So we obviously get the bridge sequence in China. He can hear a bridge collapsing in China, and he does a save the day. And then the next scene we get is a family like breakfast, and the kids are asking him about his super hearing and that he can hear everything on Earth
At once.
And he said that he can. And with training at the fortress, he has attuned his hearing to hear the fluctuations in the overall, the overall sonic, in the overall sonic frequency. What he said, every sound in the world at once. It's more like all the fluctuations taking place in the collective sonic frequency. So like he's attuned his hearing to hearing disastrous things happening. Mm-hmm. So he can hear those. So like he kind of like, it sounds like he ignores the rest of everything going on except for when things peak. So that way he knows what's happening. So that way he can hear things happening around the world. Which is why, like, he's hearing the boys at school. They're only a few miles away. You know, that's easy. Like, he can listen for that specifically.
You know, that scene, okay, so there is the scene where Clark is out, he's working on the tractor. He's out in the barn, and he just casually kind of checks in on the boys using his super hearing. And he sees, he kind of gets a sense of what's going on. And that goes back to what we talked about, where Jordan is flickering and he's got the fist, and Jonathan's trying to calm him down. And then all of a sudden you just hear, hey guys, is this between periods? And there's Clark at the school. And I was to Janine, I was like, it's one of those things, like, as a parent, I totally get. Like, you just want to get checked up, like, man, how are the kids? It's kind of almost like calling in, like, what are you guys up to? And the kids, of course, take it as a invasion of privacy, and I get that too.
Well, you have young kids. I had young kids. When your kids are being extra super quiet, you want to know what they're doing because they're not doing something they should be.
Right. So, I mean, there's all kinds of, like, little things where I'm like, yeah, like, I'm like, I get it. Like, I get both sides of this argument, but, Clark, it would be scary. I mean, just the idea of now your kids know, like, and Jordan's having powers, like, you'd want to check in on them. Just making sure, keeping up, like, are they okay? Like, do they need me? Like, and that's, as a parent, like, the idea, like, your kids need you. So, so my big thing is, one of the big arcs that's going to come out of this is basically Clark realizing and coming to grip in a way that Smallville is not Smallville anymore. It's going to be the you can't go home again type storyline, because there's the scene where he's talking to Lana and she's like, you want to walk with me? And he's like, oh, my keys are in the truck. It's Smallville,
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be part of his arc, is that he learns that this isn't the place that he grew up anymore. That Smallville, in a way, has become corrupt, and it's not the safe haven that he grew up in, that he loves. And that, in one aspect, it needs him, because it needs somebody to kind of bring that back. But I think it's going to be, I don't want to say earth-shattering, but I think everyone else sees Smallville for what it is. But Clark still has not been able to see
It's kind of got that old childlike, idealized version of what Smallville is in his head, because he hasn't been there since he was a child. At least lived there since he was a child. I think that actually works really good. Because I mean, the name of the show is Superman and Lois. So we can't really talk entirely about Superman and Lois without talking about both of them. Because Lois, before the lady shows up to talk about Morgan Edge and her son, she's looking into Morgan Edge. She doesn't want to do this fluff piece of talking to, I can't remember the character, but the editor was giving her an interview to do, and she wasn't wanting to do it. Like, she literally pushed it away. Mm-hmm. And the editor was, for me, you're not going to be doing all these huge pieces like you would at the Daily Planet. You'll have to do some of this because this sells papers in our area. But then later on, after the fight and everything with the big guy, she goes back, and the editor is like, well, the lady's in the hospital. There's obviously something going on. Like, I was concerned as an editor about this, and these types of things don't happen in a small town. But Lois, her point is, these things do happen in a small town. They happen in a small town more often than a big town because there's nobody in small towns looking for this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, it's like hiding in plain sight. So that's going to be interesting. And I think that goes with exactly like what you're saying. Like, Smallville's not the place that Clark left.
It was great in this, getting to see Clark use, like I said, the super breath to freeze the thief. I enjoyed when Clark gives the baseball story to Jordan about he wanted to go out and try out for baseball, but he didn't do it. And, he still thinks about that. And he's, tells Jordan he can do football. And under one condition. And what was great was this was one of those scenes that actually it played out better. On the extended, because we get a cut scene of Clark and Lois inside the locker room talking to the coach, where Clark is wanting the job of assistant coach. And, the coach is saying some things to him, and we're already staffed out for the year. And Clark mentions how he managed the team when he was in high school. And then Lois drops that he'll do it for free.
You should have led with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
And then we get the next scene is when Jordan is walking his uniform with Jonathan. He's talking to Sarah. And then Clark comes out carrying the water cooler. And it's hilarious how he's struggling with it.
I love that. Yeah, Tyler. Tyler's in shape, man. He looks strong. Even for a lean guy, mm-hmm. Tyler looks strong. Like, carrying a water bucket like that, 5-gallon water bucket, he wouldn't have much trouble. He played it off really good. It looked funny.
You can tell he's having a good time.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because then she walks away and he looks at Jordan, and Jordan's like, you want to help with that? He's like, yeah, and they kind of laugh at it. And, they kind of chuckle how he's acting and stuff. And they lift it together. And it's just cute, it's just a good father-son bonding moment. And the episode ends with the assassin guy driving, and he's on the phone, and then all of a sudden we see a person in the middle of the road who comes up to him and then shoots heat vision and blows up his car.
Yeah, she incinerates him. And that's a curious thing. She's got heat vision. And the guy in the car says, "What's Lar gonna do?" And I mean, not saying that subtitles are always right, but it's LARR is how they put it. The only LAR that we know of from Superman lore is Lara, Lara. Like, it almost seems like it could be, not saying that it is, but we did have the Oz Effect storyline recently where Jor-El came to Earth through time. You know, I mean, it could easily be misconstrued that she has some sort of amnesia and it's Lara from Krypton.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was very
just a wild speculation, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I am fine with it. Like, I think it's good. But that pretty much sums up the episode.
And speaking of heat vision, I did like a line earlier on because we got in the second episode that Jordan had an ocular explosion or an ocular release discharge. Yeah.
And he's like, he's got heat vision.
Yeah, and in this episode, he says, well, I'd rather have super hearing than crazy-ass laser eyes. And he said, let's just stick with heat vision. So, you know, the scientific term that Jor-El uses is this ocular discharge or whatever. And that's how he talks to Jor-El about it, the computer. But he still calls it heat vision. Which, you know, we heard a lot of, like, why are they calling it this ocular discharge? You know, it sounds weird. Like, in a scientific term, from a planet where it's not a normal thing, kind of makes sense. But it's nice to see them calling it heat vision.
I agree. But that, like I said, that takes us into, you know, next week's episode. It's going to be exciting, and we'll see what happens. So, thank you, James, for being here. This is the Krypton Report, and good night.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look at the sky.